Starship Troopers launched into popular culture with the popularly misunderstood 1997 film, and ever since then, it has spawned several other stories. Even though there's a better understanding of the movie now, no one can deny how cool the effects in the movies looked as the troops fought against the army of bugs. Someone recently tried to recreate one of Rico's Kill the Helldivers 2, and that just goes to show that those things will continue to remain some of the coolest parts of the franchise. The one thing that helped in making it more cool was the designs for the various bugs and how they each had their own goals. But over the years, there's been quite a number of these bugs appearing, and it only makes sense to check out some of the most terrifying ones amongst them. You might get a chance to see someone you remember from the 1997 film. Big twist coming in. Let's jump in. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Xander first appeared in the 1997 film as Johnny Rico's rival from school, considering that he had quite a tete-a-tete with Carmen during their game. Later, he becomes Carmen's flight instructor, during which period the two share a brief romance. However, Rico manages to confront him later, and the two have a fight, which is resolved due to the presence of other officials. But Xander wasn't lucky enough when he and Carmen crashed into Planet P during the invasion. They got surrounded by the Arachnids until the brain bug appeared, and they picked Xander as their victim for the brain-sucking bug and impaled him right on top of his head to take his brains out and kill him. We did hate him for a while, but come on, that's a brutal death. But wait, you're wondering why this dude is on the list for the terrifying bugs. The animated TV series Roughnecks Starship Troopers Chronicles gave him a much more gruesome fate. Here, he was captured by the bugs during the Zephyr campaign, and they managed to infect him with a virus from a Firefly that made him a complete monster. He turns into one of those human-insect hybrids from the Resident Evil games. But somehow, even after becoming this monstrous creature, he manages to keep his human intelligence, which helps redeem him. Even though he had become a monster, Dizzy Flores, whom he was dating before being infected, reminded him to play on the team, and in the end, he helped the Roughnecks and sacrificed himself. Yes, that is a lot, and we've only crossed one monster from our list. Rippler Bug. The Rippler Bug is a self-exploding insect that the Arachnids used in their warfare against the humans. They were practical and caused many casualties among the human troops. They would attack from the skies as aerial bombers and managed to put down a vast number of advancing mobile infantry troops with the least amount of effort. One of their most unique qualities was their yellow glow, and their presence practically scared the infantry. It became the prime objective of the infantry to ensure that all these bugs were killed before they went ahead with other aspects of their mission. Eventually, the troopers managed to finish them off, along with capturing the sole surviving brain bug. Now, the character design of the bug might make you feel as if you've seen it before, but it only made its first appearance in the 2005 Starship Troopers game. But it is very much inspired by the hopper bugs that we saw in the 1997 film, which came and picked the troopers one by one to kill them. The Rippler bugs are a lot more gruesome in comparison because they can swim underwater, even though it almost feels like they are flying underwater, and can shoot spikes from their mouth. These spikes have a corrosive venom that burns the flesh and destroys enemy equipment. Now, one Rippler bug might seem easy to fight off, but when they appear in swarms, you'll have extreme difficulty fighting them off, as they will ensure hardly anyone survives their attacks. Considering these are mere bugs, it's wild to imagine the details focused upon to make them enemies at par with the humans. Transport Bug. If you thought bugs were only for fighting off the mobile infantry with their troops, you'd be surprised that they had a significant benefit in their hand with the sentient transport ship. Yes, the Transport Bug acted like a ship that helped the Arachnids travel through the stars, and they would then deposit eggs on the surface of the planets. Initially, the mobile infantry was unaware of this. Still, at the end of the Pluto campaign, they witnessed the giant Transport Bug arrive and lay its eggs on the surface of Pluto, which explains that the Arachnids were not a species based on that planet. And yes, Pluto is a planet in the Starship Troopers universe of stories, and it was established by Robert Heinlein's original novel as the home to the research station that the Arachnids invaded. Fans of the Godzilla lore might feel like the Transport Bug looks like Mothra, but then there's the Super Transport Bug that proved that bugs cannot get smaller. These bugs had hideous faces that would be covered entirely by foldable armor, and the face wouldn't be revealed until necessary. Several folds on its skin would act like entryways and passages into the creature's deeper anatomy. In terms of load bearing, it could carry a countless number of arachnids while also being able to deploy numerous eggs at the various colonies. Finally, there's the concept of fuel for these giant bugs. During the Hydora campaign, the fleet discovered that the transport bugs have a large amount of water intake that they store in some kidney-like organic sacs in their bodies for later usage. Yes, water is their fuel. If only David Cronenberg had the opportunity to mix Starship Troopers concepts to creatures in his own Dune mythology, we would have seen something unbelievable. Jungle spider. Now we get to the nasty creatures that definitely shouldn't have a large one because the tiny ones are enough to scare some of us off. The jungle spiders are probably the deadliest creatures in the franchise, and their name is enough to strike fear into our hearts for a long time. Apart from their name, they resemble the earth spiders, and this might be the only case where one of the arachnid species resembles an arachnid. Now, the first time it appeared, it managed to cocoon a group of troopers alone and took out a bunch of them by itself. Yes, as I said, they are deadly and add intelligence, and last but not least, bloody dangerous to that list. Their combat specialty is that they can quickly move through the jungle and move fast enough that the troopers might not even anticipate an attack from them. Apart from having the features of a spider, they also have some physiological similarities with a crab. Their hard shell could protect them from attacks. Apart from the webbing, they had some crazy pincers around their mouths that could put nearly fatal bites on their enemies. Sometimes they would use the webbing to cocoon their enemies and then carry them around in their abdomens for later use. Now, even though these creatures had the apparent type of classification regarding size, they had two different kinds. The big ones are not easy to kill and take a considerable amount of time to die, and the fact that they can move faster would only prove fatal for the troopers. Similarly, the smaller ones could be taken down by a single trooper, even though they can also take a good amount of attack before being put down.
I have sacrificed all so that I may create with you a great peace. I'm there!
God Bug. Yes, there's a reason why it's called the God Bug. It's pretty literally the god of the bugs in various bug-like aspects, while being the supreme leader of the arachnids. Also known as the Behemocoidal, nobody knew about this bug until recently when it appeared in the latest of the films, Starship Troopers 3 Marauder. If you thought the brain bug had an advantage over the humans with its ability to take information from the humans by sticking a straw on their head to suck their brains, God bugs could physically establish contact with the psychic members of the Federation and control them. This ability was enough for them to make Sky Marshal Omar Inoki worship and work for them. The Behemocoidal managed to use this marshal to drop the perimeter fence of Rokusan so that the arachnids could go in for an attack. The God Bug is deeply entrenched in the planet where it's deployed, allowing it to catch its prey and kill it quickly. Remember that Dungeons & Dragons spell that allowed the heroes to bring back a dead warrior to life to get info? Well, the God Bug can manipulate the remains of other creatures to communicate. The mouth has an intricate design with a slurry of tentacles that can absorb consciousness and memories from different organisms. The fact that the Federation didn't know that something like this existed puts them behind on the battlefield, as the brain bug is nothing in front of this. Plus, it's not even known if there's only one of them or if more of these species of arachnids exist across the galaxy. Imposter Bug. Oh, now we're getting into a sneaky one. Imagine a bug that can disguise itself as one of the troopers and sneak into the bases in one of their power suits. Yes, what follows would be the death of hundreds of the troopers before the enemy is even detected. So yes, the imposter bugs, going by their name, are imposters, and they have a size and shape that resembles a human, allowing them to stick out from other bugs and stick in with the humans. And once they're successful in their mission, they'll unleash havoc amongst the enemy with their speed and deadliness. Even though it's fair to say that there's no chance a human might be able to outrun them, there was an example where a private managed to outrun this bug. But then again, I'm sure I would have done the same thing out of fear of discovering an inhuman thing from a human suit. Even though the bugs are smart enough based on the variety we've seen, it's far-fetched to think they managed to bring this species by themselves. And that's true because our beloved Xander created this species after being infected and turning into a bug-like creature himself. It was a result of arachnid flux larvae being mixed with human blood. Is this list getting creepier with each new bug? Spitter Bug. Spitter Bugs appeared in the 2 games for the Starship Troopers, and both were somewhat different in various aspects and other complexities. However, the primary feature common to both was the ability to spit or shoot, which can cause severe damage to the enemy. Also, the name Spitter is based only on that. The first time we came across the bug was in the Terran Command game, and here it worked in groups to launch projectile acid on the troopers while using the warrior-type bugs as their shield. They might not be the enemy, considering they must maintain a certain distance, and the long-range weapons make them easy targets, but they prove to be significantly hostile against the engineers, who are typically short-range units. The second variety, this Arachnid species, was witnessed in the Invasion Mobile Infantry game, where they had a completely different character design. They were tinted with blue at random places on their body, and they could shoot plasma at the troopers. Weirdly, they're not much different from a plasma grenadier bug, and they are warrior bugs themselves. So yeah, there's not much clarity as to why they would need another species that could serve the same purpose. But these bugs are much more similar to the version of the warrior mentioned in the book. Yeah, this one was pretty light in comparison to all the crazy things we talked about before, but then the spitter does come under the subcategory of our following bug. Tiger Bug. Tiger bugs are called so because of the tiger-like stripes on their bodies and speed, around 34 miles per hour. They are an advanced variant of the warrior bug with significant improvements in armor, such as chitinous plates that prevent aggressive attacks by humans from making any impact. There are 3 types of tiger bugs: the tiger spitter, the tiger shard, and the tiger elite. Each variant has a distribution of powers and the ability to harm the enemy based on the strength each of them provides. Like the spitter bugs, the tiger spitter can eject a corrosive liquid at its enemies from a distance. It's very much the standard for a typical tiger bug. Then there's the shard one that can fire bolts of solidified plasma to hit the enemy from a long distance. But the strongest of them all is the elite bug. And yes, again, the name stands for the very prowess of this bug amongst the other bugs. It can decimate bases alone and kill troopers quickly without getting a scratch. The armor plating makes them almost impenetrable with the most common of the troopers' weapons. But the Merida Mark II would be an ideal weapon against them because it's probably the only one to pierce their armor, hit them, and put them down. Firefly. Remember how the xenomorphs were birthed inside humans after the egg was placed inside them and they were completely unaware of it? The Fireflies are a response to this, and they are also birthed similarly from other life forms when spores infect them. These bugs were first introduced in the Starship Troopers franchise when the dropship Zephyr accidentally brought this bug to the Ice Bug asteroid as an egg, and it would later hatch out of Xander's skin. Eventually, these bugs would grow to a size of a warrior bug and lose their other properties as hatchlings. Now, you're left wondering why it's called a Firefly, which does sound like a weird twist on the Firefly name. Well, the main attacking feature of this bug is the ability to throw flames, which can generate a tremendous amount of heat. They're usually born in swarms and can survive in the coldest conditions in deep space without any specific linkage to the bug hive. Their structure is like a mix of an ant and a scorpion, with an earth-colored body with tan-colored crosswise stripes on the top of the body.
Incoming!
Blister Bug. With the ability to launch plasma blasts at the enemy, the Blister Bug can be a significant enemy for the troopers. We already have the Plasma Bug that does the same, but the Blister Bugs are like machine guns, and they can leap into the air and launch multiple plasma blasts simultaneously, causing significant damage. Looking very much like a moth, this bug can attack in swarms because of its small size, making it harder to defeat. There's even some variation in them. Some appear more significant than others, and these giant ones look almost like a tanker bug. The blaster bugs can absorb the heat from around them and then use it to ignite an exothermic biochemical reaction inside its prothorax, thus prolonging a flame-throwing capability that is strong enough to blast through shields. Together in a swarm, they use the residual heat to form a shield that can destroy any oncoming attack in the form of a beam or a missile before reaching the bug's body. But knowing the process where all this heat work tends to happen, weapon allows the enemy to learn how to defeat it. One can quickly kill off this bug by detonating a charge around the ventral section, which tends to be vulnerable. Also, this bug announces its attacks by letting out a short scream before it can launch a full-on blast. Ice Bug. So you're hanging out in space, and suddenly one of the asteroids turns out to be a bug called the Ice Bug. And you thought that only Star Wars had those random creatures that would turn out to be entire planets where our team of heroes parked for some repairs. These massive bugs live in space and resemble asteroid bodies covered in ice. When the Federation came across this bug for the first time, it was in the process of consuming an entire ship, but soon enough, they managed to explode it to bits. Ice bugs are extended travelers and take centuries to travel to their destination. In the midst of it, they even hibernate for a long time until they're woken up by a random prey that has landed on it. Yes, they don't go for their prey. Instead, they wait for their prey to appear by chance and wake them up so they can consume them for fuel. Its large mouth consumes some of the most significant things across space, including whole spaceships and other such things. Once awakened, it pulls out its legs to thrust itself to swim across space at high speeds. In a way, they're also associated with fireflies, as these tiny bugs soften and infest the ice bug's body to reproduce, and in turn, the ice bug devours them for energy. Blister Bug. Blaster bugs have a sister species amongst the arachnids called the blister bugs, similar in shape and color to the blaster ones. However, regarding their attacking feature, they spew out a large amount of the usual corrosive liquid on their enemy directly from a concise range. For spewing out this acid-like substance, they have a gaping mouth structure that allows them to let it out and often destroy the enemy in no time. But this liquid is not corrosive enough to go through the power suits that the troopers sometimes wear. Even though it might do that after a certain amount of time, it does affect the suit's life system and destroys some of its functionality. After spewing out a certain amount of the liquid, these bugs need some time to reload before they go for the second round of acid burst. The acid is produced in the creature's abdomen and only reaches a maximum range of slightly more than 9 meters. Unlike blaster bugs, these bugs attack mostly individually or in small swarms. That's probably to ensure they don't drop the corrosive liquid on each other before they even reach the enemy. After all, these bugs can be bizarre when the situation calls for it. Unlike warrior bugs, these bugs aren't that fast, but they can climb quickly, allowing them to drop their acid-like liquid from the top. Cliff Flea. Remember the head crabs from Half-Life? Now, think that they are being used as pets by the bugs, which explains the cliff flea. These are supportive bugs almost the size of a chihuahua and can be absolute annoyance because they don't stand too much worth at the end of the day. They pop up randomly out of nowhere and try to attack their enemy, but all they do is cause some trouble. Even though they look pretty harmless, they might surprise you with their sharp teeth that can cause nasty wounds. Like most other bugs, they live underground and are excellent burrowers, using their skills to stay hidden. They will appear out of nowhere and jump onto an approaching trooper to bite or put them off their trail. If you don't like them as pets, you might want to go for the cliff mite instead, which looks much more fierce with its size and has many weaknesses at the same time. There's a reason we picked the flea over the mite, and you know it. Rhino Bug. As the name suggests, rhino bugs charge at their enemies with the large horned tusks on the front of their faces to attack them. These bugs were deployed in Hesperus, and they unleashed a full-fledged attack on the troopers, which managed to trample many of them to death. Even though it might prove impossible to deal with this one from the front, they have a weakness that makes them quite vulnerable. If you hit them at the red glowing tissue at their rear, they will be easily killed. They were a challenging part of the 2005 Starship Troopers game. Now, there are actually two kinds of rhino bugs because the ones we talked about so far are the warrior kind. Their features make them the perfect weapon against humans, and they can be really clumsy at times. There are also rhino worker bugs, some short-sighted bugs that can be easily triggered into action by the slightest provocation. That sounds like something we've seen in common with the other kinds of rhino. Bombardier Bug. A grenade, these bugs are an arachnid variant designed to self-destruct upon deployment. Yes, these bugs planned every aspect of their attack against the enemy and created a species of bugs that did nothing but explode and kill. It curls up like a pill bug and only opens when deployed somewhere. The minor bug has appeared in the Starship Troopers movies, yet its attack is pretty fatal. It's not as if they were thrown around just to cause some panic amongst the troopers, but they did target the troopers' positions and then get deployed right there. Yes, apart from a sentient ship, they also created a sentient hand grenade that can kill quite a lot if the situation calls for it. Even though these bugs appeared in the films, they replaced them with the chaser bugs for the Invasion Mobile Infantry game, as the chaser bug is also an exploding insect. But it's almost as if they updated the basic principle of the bug, and the chaser kind chases its target before detonation, similar to a heat-seeking missile.
Their abdomens, there's a significant drop in temperature. Detonate a charge under there and it's bye-bye blasters.
How do we get close enough to plant a bomb?
Marvelous verdict. The world of Starship Troopers might have strayed away significantly from what the 1997 film intended to do, but one must acknowledge the creativity employed in the world building here. We got to witness a wide variety of bugs solely to kill their enemies, and even though these bugs can't fight with weapons and other types of equipment, they have found an excellent path around that. Humans might have a difficult time fighting the enemy with sentient weapon systems that are bugs with a particular feature that they can use against the enemy. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.